All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tiff. I am the behavior manager at the Humane Society of Western Montana, and I'm also a certified professional dog trainer. Thank you for joining me during these really fun Wednesday puppy classes. We're going to be hosting these every Wednesday at 6 o'clock through the winter. And like I said in my comment, I have so many topics I could cover. And if you have any ideas or if you're struggling with a puppy topic or behavior or any behavior questions, you can put it in the comments section and it'll give me some fresh ideas for future live streams. Today's topic is leash skills. So if you have a puppy, you probably have already experienced the struggles or maybe even the frustrations of walking your puppy on leash. I've seen puppies that flail around on leash, that pull as if the leash isn't there, or who even stall and stay behind and are scared of walking forward on leash. Regardless how your puppy behaves on leash, the skills in today's class will help them get a great foundation for walking on leash so that when they grow older and you want to take them for longer walks, they'll have great foundations to work on. So, one thing I want to make clear before we get started with some training exercises is depending on how old your puppy is, leash walking should not be their primary exercise right now. So, for puppies between 8 to 16 weeks of age, and really puppies under a year of age, the general health recommendation is that you don't walk them more than, I think it's 5 minutes per month in age. It doesn't mean that that's the total amount of exercise they get in a day, but just as far as leash walks in on a like a sidewalk or on pavement goes, that repetitive motion and that forced, not that we're dragging our puppies, but that forced repetitive motion is not good for their joints. And if you x-ray a puppy, you're going to see that they don't look like an adult dog skeleton. There's a lot of cartilage in there and their joints are still developing. So if you take them on too long of a walk now, it can affect their joint development, and we don't want anything detrimental to happen to your puppies. That said, you have the perfect excuse to not walk your puppy on leash yet and instead spend that time teaching them leash skills so that by the time they're bigger, stronger, and faster and just raring to go, they're going to walk really nicely on leash for you. So what you're going to need if you want to join in on today's session is your puppy's walking equipment. So I use a harness and a leash, a 6-foot leash. If your puppy's already wearing a collar, that'll be really useful. If not, just have your collar ready. If you're using a gentle leader or head halter, you can use that as well. And also have about a cup of your puppy's kibble. I always like to say if your puppy hasn't eaten dinner yet, it's great to use their dinner for training, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing tonight. All right, so let's get started. This first thing is a little bit of a review, but whether you are joining us new or whether you've been hanging along, thank you for doing that. This is a little bit of a refresher. We're going to talk about how to get gear on your puppy without the struggle and the mouthing and the biting, but we're not going to focus too long on this step. I'm just going to tilt my screen so that you can see exactly what I'm doing with my puppy. There she is. There's excuse me, there's Paya. She's actually older than the socialization age puppies. She is going to be 20 weeks old in a week or two. So she's really grown up. All right, so I'm going to get her. Ready, Paya? All righty. So you probably have experienced the frustration of a puppy being squirmy or mouthy. What I want you to do is have your leash in one hand and have treats in the other hand. You're going to lure your puppy while you clip that gear on. Oh, I missed the D-ring. So there's one treat. So I don't need to grab her collar. I don't need to grab her. I'm really struggling here because the D-ring is so small. And if I don't get it the first try, which I clearly didn't, don't rush. Because if you rush, your puppy's going to rush at you. Just get another kibble or two. Hi, you ready? And here's the lure. Here's the leash. Yep. Here's the lure and got it. Got her on leash. Of course, I don't need to do that with her anymore, but I understand that you might have a much younger puppy who is fresh with these skills, and that's a great way of easily getting gear on and also teaching them to be calm for future gear ups. I'm also going to demonstrate getting the harness on because I will be using the harness for these skills. I'll explain why later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 3 pieces of kibble, and I'm going to have the harness positioned the way I need it to, and I'm going to lure her through. Nice and easy. So 1 treat, 2 treat, 3 treat, or kibble. You know, when I say treat, it just means a piece of food, but I'm using her kibble. And then what I can do is I can toss 2 or 3 pieces of kibble on the ground while I clip one end so that her mouth is distracted and she's not biting me. And I can toss 2 to 3 little pieces of food, right, Paya? Yep, on the ground while I get the other end. Again, I don't need to do this with her anymore. I can just gear her up and gear her down, but just for the sake of demonstration, if you have a young puppy, a new puppy, this is a great way to have them be calm, build trust for handling, and just avoid that struggle of getting a leash on your squirmy, mouthy puppy. All right. So that said, let's also review really quickly some training basics that we are going to use today. The first word you need to know is a marker. This is any word or sound, such as the word good. That means your puppy is doing the right thing. And good, the marker is always followed by a small treat. So good. If you are new to this, what I want you to do right now is take 5 pieces of kibble, that's 3, 5 pieces of kibble, and charge your marker. The way you do this is you just say, make the sound, good, and give your puppy the treat. Good. I need to move that chair. Good. So you do that for 5 times. Get it. Yeah. All righty. And if you're using the marker for the first time, we're going to still use it for today's little session, but don't worry, your puppy's going to pick it up so quickly. You just need to charge the marker. Good. 10 times, and think about how fast it would take to feed your puppy 10 pieces of food, and just do that whenever you feel like it, really, and your puppy's going to catch on real quick. All right. So one thing I want to say too, I always forget to say this in the beginning. If you have any questions about what we're working on today, just put your comments in the chat or the comments section of Facebook, and I will periodically come to the screen and look at the comments, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. If there's a question I don't get to, I'll post resources at the very end of this where you can contact me and my behavior team, and we can keep chatting about training and behavior. This is completely free. All right, so our puppies are geared up. We have our rewards ready. We have the marker ready to use. Here's the first exercise I want us to practice. It's called Follow Me. So, and if you have a puppy who's new, I'm imagining that they're squirming on leash right now. They're not just hanging out calmly like my puppy. But what you're going to do is you're going to make a sound like, you know, or it's your puppy's name. And when they move at you, you're going to walk backwards. Good. See how she followed me? I want to be ready to mark by saying good and giving her a treat when she follows me. And then I'm going to turn in a different direction and repeat. Paya. Good. And I'm going to do that again. Good. This time I didn't even say anything and she's moving towards me. If Paya is a new puppy with me, and I truly did this when she was first starting out in my house, what I'm teaching her is that even though the leash is on her, it's more about following me than the leash. Anyone who has a puppy knows that when that leash first goes on and the puppy feels the tension, they start squirming and flailing because they're afraid of this thing that's caught them. We're going to address that later. But even though the leash is on, and in fact, you can start by even leaving it on the ground if your puppy's really sensitive to the pressure, just teach them to move with you. Good. And don't forget to say good and give them a treat as they move with you. Good. So if you have a puppy at home, or even a dog, this works for adult dogs, let's give this a try together for about a minute or so. Good. 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 How excellent. All right. So even though this seems like a silly exercise, especially when I do it in such a small space, look at what this turns into. Once I have a puppy that loves moving with me and chasing me like this, look at what happens when I walk normally. Good. 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 Doesn't this look like loose leash walking, whether I'm holding the leash or not? Good. So she loves walking with me already. So by the time I pick up that leash, sorry, I stepped on a splinter or something. Ugh. So by the time I pick up that leash, look at how beautiful this walking can be already. Ready, Paya? Good. 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 Excellent. All right, so this follow me exercise is the foundation to really great walking moving forward as well. You're probably thinking, well, this is all fine in the living room, but outside where there are sticks and leaves and other dogs and sounds, the puppy might be way more distracted and pulling or hiding, and that's true, but good foundations start in low distraction environments. So even if you just do this in your living room or in your yard or in your front driveway, remember, leash walking skills, it's not about how far you walk. That comes later when the skills are already there. It's about teaching your puppy how to behave when the leash and the gear is on them. Even if you're just walking in circles, you're establishing foundations and rules. You're not taking them on a walk yet and expecting them to already know the rules. So I'm just going to pop forward here and see if there are any questions. All righty. Yep, focus is a big thing and lunging is a big thing. Same with me. I mean, if you see me walking with her, she does walk really well because I put a lot of practice into this, but absolutely she still gets distracted by things. And that is actually a little separate than leash foundations, because knowing how to behave on leash is different than knowing how to behave with distractions in the world. And maybe that's a great live stream idea. And I think I already did one that kind of covers it. But anyways, all the more reason to focus on these leash foundations before expecting our puppies to not only know how to walk on leash, but also handle all the distractions out in the world. Good girl. Okay. So here's a separate exercise that is so important to do with puppies. And this is leash pressure. So you saw how nicely she walked with me, and it was more about how to move with me than it is about the leash. But inevitably, in every dog's life, they're going to know that the leash is on them. And with puppies, I know that a lot of them start struggling and flailing. I just want to remind everyone that this is normal. They're not trying to fight you, or they're not, trying to control you or the walk. They're literally just scared that they're trapped. And any animal that feels trapped is going to fight against it to try to escape. So by teaching dogs to walk on leash, we're actually going against their instinctive response, which is one of many reasons why loose leash walking is such a hard skill to teach. Here's how you teach your puppy to not fight the leash pressure. What you're going to do is you're going to have 2 or 3 treats ready, and you are going to hold the leash just a little shorter, because I know from experience, if you hold it from back here and it gets tight, it's like your puppy's like a fish at the end of the line. So you're just going to hold the leash at half length if you have a 6-foot leash. And I want to word this really, really carefully. I'm not going to yank my puppy. If your puppy is backing away or flailing, the pressure is too much. What you're going to do is you're just going to straighten the leash just so that they can feel it, like just a straight line, and immediately reward them in that direction. So here I go, straightening the leash and rewarding her in that direction. You can barely see it. So I'm going to do it again. This is a review for some people who have seen the handling exercise, but it's so important, it's worth repeating. Straightening the leash, rewarding her in this direction. I am applying such a light pressure that my puppy is not scared and fighting, and I'm pairing that pressure with her being rewarded in this direction. What this teaches in the long run to any puppy or dog is that if they feel pressure and move into it, it's not scary and good things happen to them. So again, I'm just shortening the line to make it easier for me. Straightening the leash just so it's straight, and immediately using that treat to lure them in the direction that I am pulling in. And I'm air quoting pulling because I'm not literally pulling my puppy. That's very, very important. So if you have a puppy with you or even an adult dog, you can practice this. Just whatever direction the leash straightens in, you're ready to use the treat and guide them in that direction. Excellent. Remember, well, I didn't even say this, so you're not going to, there's nothing to remember yet. But now remember what I say. Loose leash walking is one of the things that takes a really long time to train. People are sometimes surprised when I tell them that at 14 weeks old or younger, I could call her off dogs, deer, people, like mid-run, because recall is so easy to teach, especially if you start with a puppy. Loose leash walking, she's great, but I'm still working on it, and I'm going to continue needing to work on it for the next few months, because unlike sit or come or stay or leave it, those are all skills that happen just for a moment in a stationary setting or in just a single setting. Loose leash walking, we're expecting our dogs to maintain a behavior as the environment changes and as many distractions such as smells and people and sounds and dogs and cars pass them by. And as our puppies grow up, their motivation to interact with smells and dogs and people change, which changes their behavior, which means I am constantly fine-tuning Paya's loose leash walking, and I will be to the point where she matures. This is why it takes so long. My point for saying all of this is, even though you're doing little baby things like this, good. You might think, well, she still flails, or you might be doing the follow me, good. And when you step outside, your puppy's still gonna pull. It's gonna feel like it's not working, but you need to be consistent and stick with it. And you're gonna see changes week by week, not necessarily day by day, right? All right, so just to show you what the result of this is, and again, I'm still working on it with her, look at what happens when I actually pull her. Yeah. Good girl. Tail, and I don't recommend doing that, but I'm just showing you that the results of all that leash pressure exercise, even when I shorten that leash and pull her, look at how her tail's wagging. Good. Right? She's not fighting me. She's just like, okay, just gotta follow. Good. And good things happen to her. Not only is this great for general leash walking skills, but imagine I need to pull her away from something in an emergency. I'm going to have a dog that really willingly and quickly follows me rather than fighting me. All right, I'm just going to check to see if there are questions here. We have a great question. How do you transition from training with treats to real world when you aren't handing out treats constantly? And that's actually quite a complex question, but the short answer is, at this stage of your puppy's development, I recommend bringing treats or their food out with you constantly. You will not see me in the world with Paya without a treat pouch on. You will see me out in the world with my adult dog with absolutely no treats on my person. But think about it this way. It's not that training happens when the treats are on and it stops happening when the treats are off. Your puppy is always learning. Either you are going to motivate them with treats and food and toys, or they're going to motivate themselves by picking up sticks, barking at dogs, lunging at birds, picking up garbage. And treats are not forever, but just realize that their brains are literally developing, and we can shape their development if we are ready to be very generous with reinforcement at the right time. If we rush too quickly to fade treats at this stage, they're dogs, they're animals, they're going to want to go do other things, like pick up garbage, pull forward to go to the next smell, or to greet the dog in person. Great question. All righty. Just checking my notes here. Okay. Here's a really, really important thing to keep in mind when you're practicing leash walking. And this is going to be hard for me to demonstrate in a small space, but even with all of this practice, the follow me, the leash pressure, definitely your puppy is going to pull, right? So let me just set that up real quick to see if I can make it happen. So I'm going to throw a treat to make her pull. She's too good. Are you going to give me that treat? I'm tricking her. So she's pulling. I'm going to stop walking. That's so important, because look at what happens when I stop. She reorients towards me and makes the leash loose again. You don't need to yank your puppy back. You just need to show them that pulling does not work and does not work, and it does not result in forward movement towards what they want. If you watch me walk with her, a lot of times, not a lot, but you know, at times it seems like I'm just standing awkwardly in front of someone's house. Look at her pull, I'm stopping. Watch what happens. Good. She realized pulling does not work, and she performs something else, like checking in with me. And then I can resume walking towards the thing that she wants. Go get it, and she gets it appropriately. All right. So when you are in your driveway or out on a little few block walk with your puppy, you're going to do the other exercises I mentioned, like the follow me and the leash pressure. But if your puppy loses track because they're puppies and they pull, stop walking, ground yourself. Good. Reward them when they loosen the leash or check in with you. It's in my hand. It's in my hand. There it is. And then resume walking when they stop pulling. What a good girl. All right. If you have a puppy with you right now, you can practice this setup. And I know this is completely artificial, but it's good to practice our mechanics and our leash handling. Hold the leash short because I don't want your puppies hitting the end of the leash at speed. Throw a little treat out of reach. And most puppies will start pulling. You're going to just stop. The moment your puppy loosens the leash and turns back to you, you're going to say, good, and give them a treat near you. It's in my hand. And then when they stop pulling, you're going to start walking towards the treat on the ground and they get to have it. Go get it. There it is. Yay. I'm going to do it one more time. So I'm holding her leash. I know it's hard to see here. Whoop. There it is. There she is. Holding the leash short because I don't want your puppies to be jerking themselves. Throw that treat far enough that they can't reach it. And assuming your puppy pulls, you're just going to stop. Good. Mark and reward when they stop pulling and then resume walking. What a good girl. You got it. Yes. Alrighty. And then, you know, it's hard to generalize from living room to sidewalk, but in real life, again, if your puppy's pulling, don't panic, don't rush, just stop. She's pulling right now. And look at now, she's not. Good. And I'm going to reward that. Okay, so I want to talk about one more thing today, and I'm going to show you some really quick video clips to show you exactly how I have some real life footage of me walking with her and training with her. But the last thing I want to work on for today, hands-on, is leisure mode versus training mode. So notice I have her on a collar. She's also wearing a harness. I just said earlier how hard loose leash walking is to train reliably, and even though I'm a professional trainer, I don't want to be training all the time. Like, think about the times when you come back from work and you just kind of want to get that potty walk over with, right? Especially those of you who live in apartments who don't have the luxury of just setting your dog out into a yard and you need to walk your puppies, right? So, and also if you, because puppies, or if it's really cold outside and you don't want to do this with the treats for 10 minutes, how do you maintain consistency without always needing to train? If you have the right walking tool on your puppy, the tool does a lot of the work for you and can mitigate pulling. We only recommend humane walking tools like harnesses at our shelter, and as a professional trainer, that's what I would recommend. I do not recommend choke chains, prong collars, or shock collars, especially not for developing puppies. I could talk about that for an hour. But the easiest thing to do is get a harness. If your puppy pulls a lot, it immediately takes the pressure off their neck, so it's safer. And if you have a harness that allows you to clip on the chest, it really reduces their pulling. So watch what happens if she pulls and she's front clipped on a harness. Well, that was really close by. You see how, I mean, I'm not yanking her or anything, but she doesn't really have that momentum to pull as well. So this can really, really just reduce pulling, and you can decide, all right, I just want to go on a 5-minute potty walk. I don't want to train. Let me just put my puppy on a harness and let's just walk. Okay, she's pulling a little bit, but I'm going to let it slide because she's in leisure mode on the harness right now. And then when you feel like training, you can re-clip your dog or puppy to their collar or to their special training harness or whatever you ultimately want them to walk nicely on, and you follow all the walking rules, stopping when they pull, rewarding good walking. Good. and the whole 9 yards. This concept is confusing at first thought. So the easiest analogy I can think of is think about how different you behave when you have your pajamas on versus when you have a suit and tie on, right? When you're ready to work, you put on your working clothes. When you're just out getting the mail real quick, perhaps, or you're just, you know, tossing the trash out, you might just still have your PJs on. So we're developing the same concept for your dogs. If you like this idea of having one tool on them to indicate we're not training, we're just walking, and another tool for, all right, we're following all the loose leash walking rules. And yes, dogs can learn the difference. Think about how differently a service dog acts when they're home and their vest is off versus when they are in their vest and working on the street. Great question from, we have a great question. I already have a class on teaching them to come. Yes, we do. If you look in the video section of our Facebook page, you will find it. Coming When Called is one of my favorite things to teach. And there are tons of great live videos showing how I've progressed with her. And we are also working on editing these live streams and posting them on our YouTube channel, which is just HSWM. I'm not sure if the Coming When Called one is posted yet, but if not, it will be available soon. But it is on our Facebook. Alrighty, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my puppy away, and then I'm going to pull up just a few quick video clips to show you all of this happening in a real life situation. And if it's just going to take me 1 minute to put her away. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat, in the comments section, and you can work on de-gearing your puppies too using treats. But because she is already past that stage, I can just take it all off, and she's only going to maybe mouth me a little. Right, Paya? Yeah, good girl. Get it. Ooh. What I'm doing is I'm putting her back in her pen, so I don't need to watch her while I'm talking to you guys, and I'm giving her a little frozen kibble mixture in a food toy. She's really excited about that. All right, ready? Oh, sorry. Here it goes, closing in. What a good girl. Good. If you want a puppy that loves being confined to a pen or a crate, that's how you should be feeding them, food toys. I could do a whole live stream on that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I am going to pull up some videos for you. Okay, let me expand this. Oh, what happened? Okay, so this is the first walk I ever took with little cute baby Paya in my neighborhood. This was mid-November. She was, I think, about 9 weeks old. I don't know exactly how old she is because she came in as a stray. Let me try to find a good place because a lot of it is my camera not even on her, things like that. All right. Look at how cute she is. She's like a little potato. So I'll just let it play for a little bit.
Doing a get a game of treats so that she learns to find food on the floor instead of me having to bend down all the time. And eventually I can just toss treats for loose leash walking instead of needing to stop.
All right, so I'm just gonna pause right here. 2 minutes, you can watch 2 minutes of little baby Paya toddling around, but she's not very fast, right? She doesn't understand the leash rules, but notice, I think this only happened once or twice in that very short clip, but already I'm saying good and marking and giving her a little treat when she happens to be keeping the leash loose. And you see, she started as a totally normal puppy. She weaves around, she picks up a leaf. She gets way more hyper in like just 2 days from this video clip. And I employed all of the things I just described. And there certainly are more loose leash walking tips, but I decided to start with the basics in this live stream because we're all starting with puppies here. And the more advanced leash walking skills really depend on what your goals are. So I'm going to show you one more clip, which is taken closer to today. This is, I don't know, like a week ago. And she's much older, like she is now, and you see the progression. But before I show you, I just want to define my criteria. So no matter what tools you use or how you're starting with your puppy, it is important to think about, how do I want my dog to walk with me when they grow up? And I think it's always good to be fair. Research shows it's really beneficial to let your dog smell on a walk. And it doesn't mean you just stand there forever, but rushing them along and never letting them sniff is also not really good for their mental health. And also, some people don't care if their puppy is behind her head or some people want their dogs to heel right next to them, which good luck with that. Some people want their dogs on one side, and some people don't care about the weaving. So there is no right or wrong. Some people don't care about pulling. Like, I like that my dog pulls in certain circumstances. There is no right or wrong. It's all about what your criteria are. So my criteria is, I want Paya to only walk on my left side. I don't care if she is ahead or behind or out to the side. I want her on my left, and I want the leash to be loose. Those are my two criteria. And that's not the right way to train. The reason why I pick those criteria is I have another dog who's 78 pounds who's trained to walk on my right. He's a male dog, so he pees a lot. And already when I kind of let them mingle together, there's the situation where she's sniffing, he pees, and he pees on her head. Also, when I had two male dogs, when I let them walk near each other, they would just pee on each other all the time. So my reason for teaching the dogs to walk on my left and on my right is to avoid having to clean pee off their heads, right? Okay, so here we go.
I'm just holding my hand out for the camera. It has nothing to do with you. Good.
All right, so she's doing such a great job. And she's not perfect. I stop a lot on my walks. I sometimes need to backtrack. I use a lot of treats still because it's a work in progress. The reason why I'm holding my hand out is my criteria for pressure is I expect to walk my dogs with feeling enough pressure on one finger that I can hold them back, because otherwise we get into the whole pattern of, all right, are they pulling? Is this acceptable? Oh, they're pulling a little more. Is that not acceptable? So for me, it's a one finger rule. You don't need to do that. It just helps me define my criteria really, really clearly. All right, so just to recap really quickly, with our young puppies out there, we shouldn't be leash walking them a lot, but it's a great time to be working on leash skills. You can use treats to help make the gear up process easier for you and your puppy. And you should practice really simple exercises, like rewarding where your puppy simply moves with you, whether it's towards you or then eventually by your side. You should stop if your puppy pulls. You should also be working on leash pressure exercises so that when your puppy feels the leash, they understand that it's not a scary thing, and it can help them move into the pressure and actually improve their leash skills down the line. You can also set up scenarios where you toss a treat distraction out of reach and stop if your puppy pulls, but also reward them when they stop pulling, and then show them that when they don't pull, they get to move towards the thing. And then we also talked about a concept of leisure mode and training mode, where you can use a humane walking tool like a harness to give yourself a break from training and just have the tool help mitigate the pulling, but then reclick to training mode. In my case, it's the collar, for when you're going to be stringently following the loose leash walking techniques, such as stopping when your puppy pulls and rewarding heavily when they are walking the way you want. And lastly, as your puppy grows up, be thinking about how you want your puppy to walk as an adult, and you can practice rewarding mini versions of that while they're still young. I don't see any other questions at the moment, but I am going to pull up a quick informational card so that you can reach me and my behavior team at any time if you have any questions. We have a free behavior helpline service. And what this means is whether you have a question about your puppy or your adult dog or any behavior, you can email or call us at any time, and we are happy to help you out. The email is behavior@myhswm.org. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing these live streams every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and we're going to be doing it through the winter. On Thursdays at 6 o'clock, we have our behavior spotlight, and this is going to cover a more general training topic that applies to adult dogs, but also very accessible for puppies. We've covered topics like trick training and I think Coming When Call was a puppy one, but still applies to adult dogs, separation anxiety, and we are happy to take suggestions too. I'm not sure what tomorrow's is on. I believe it is on crate training. So puppies and adult dogs can benefit from that. And I hope you tune in tomorrow at 6 o'clock. 2 more things. If your puppy is between 8 to 16 weeks of age, we have a free program called Puppy Matchmaker. If you fill out a form on our website, myhswm.org, click on training and behavior. At the very top, you're going to see this in the puppy section. Fill out a form for your puppy. We're going to send you a free 1-hour course on puppy socialization. And then if your puppy is of socialization age and we have enough applicants, we can match you and your puppy to a vaccinated, appropriately aged / sized puppy or mentor dog so that you can socialize safely. Lastly, we are so proud to be a resource for behavior in our community, and we always have so many free training and behavior resources, and that's not about to change. But if you are feeling generous and would like to donate to our shelter, your contribution will go to the continuation of these programs and to the care of our shelter pets. That is all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much again for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.